you'd be disappointed if I didn't. So we'll just close that out, and we'll go to these JFK files, see what's here. All right, where do we start? Is it in order? Tell me this guy's in order. Let's show all entries. That's a lot. Well, let's start. Let's dive right into this, guys. This is probably nothing important. And we have to also be looking up names. We have to be looking up names. We have to be figuring out who people are. I'm not a big history buff yet. You know, this is the date we're looking at, 26th of March, 1964. It's a clipping of an article. This is the officer Birch O'Neill. Attached article, which may be of interest to you, appeared in the 7 March issue of the Italian Communist Party Weekly Rinascita. I don't know. The writer, Gianfranco Corsini, wow, that's real Italian, has been on and off U.S. correspondent for the Italian Communist Press. Note that in the section penciled in red, rumors are referred, which suggest that it was the agency to organize the murder of President Kennedy. It was that same maybe? I don't know. I don't know what that says. What does that say? It was that it was. Yeah, okay. Well, this is real interesting. Good stuff. This is secret. This is a secret post. Well, let's jump into the next one here. Is it not in order? Are they going to show us the article? This is very, you guys have probably seen a lot of this stuff. Rinascita means Renaissance. Oh, okay. Good to know. If we work together on this, chat, we're going to be able to figure out what everything means. Let's see. The originator. So the CIA. I don't think this is probably in order. And it also appears that we have a file missing here. If the 42 file is missing. The record number. There seem to be lots of records missing. I would be very interested to see what the whole scoop is on the missing records. I'm sure people are already pointing that out. I've seen whispers and rumors about that. This is a discussion between members senior division concerning Oswald's stay in Helsinki. And this is, hold on. Freedom of Information Act review. This is interesting. I wonder if they filed a Freedom of Information Act request in 1976 to talk about that. Discussion between member senior division and COS, I don't know what that is, Helsinki, concerning timetable of Oswald's stay in Helsinki. So we're talking about Lee Harvey Oswald here. Talking about staying in Helsinki. What's Destiny say? Always got to look it up on a map. You got to look it up on a map. Hold on. Helsinki map. You need to find out where it is. Okay, why just show me. Okay. Helsinki, Finland. Look it up on a map, guys. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this place. We're dealing with this place right here. This is where he was. This is where he was. Contextualizing. Good stuff, guys. This is where he was, and let me show you guys where I'm from. I'm from right there. Rostock. What a beautiful city. It's a 900-year-old city. You know that? Anyway, but we're talking about, where did it go? Where did Helsinki go? There we go. We're talking about Helsinki. We're talking about this place, okay? Let's jump back into the records. I imagine. I don't know if there's another Helsinki that it's talking about. They said his stay in Helsinki. I don't know if this is a hotel. I don't know if this is the city. Nope, it is. It is the city. Timetable of Oswald's stay in Finland in October 1959, including his contact with the Soviet consulate there. Copy of commission letter 25th May 64 and state cable 22nd May 64. So he had contact with the Soviet consulate in Finland. What would that be, 5 years prior to the assassination? When was JFK assassinated? Let's get our dates all figured out. Assassination of JFK was on November 22nd, 1963. So we're looking at 4 years. JFK Call of Duty. I'm going to delete that tab. So we're looking at 4 years prior to the assassination. He meets with Soviet. He met somebody. He met with his contact on the Soviet consulate. Okay, takes 25-minute drive by taxi. It would take no more than 5 minutes. The consulate probably closed at this time. Okay, very interesting. Real good stuff. Next one. Did we already check this guy out? No, we didn't. Okay, here we go. And discussion between members senior division Helsinki concerning timetable. No, we did. We did just read that. This is just another copy. Okay, real. At 0900. Well, you know what's going to be easier? We're just going to open all these up. I'm going to end on 79. Okay. Yeah, this is the same thing. This is the exact same one. Going to close that. This is the exact same file. Passenger lists. Mr. Robert Fulton, CIA, was a U.S. consular official there at the time. Okay. Memorandum of the record. This is discussion with Warren Commission staff member. Let's say here. Discussion with... This is impossible to read. I wonder, AI is probably fantastic at putting all this stuff back together. I wish you could sort through the good files first. This is such a gay system. Yeah, literally. When does it say something about the other countries? When does it say that he was assassinated by Mossad? When do we get to that part? This is this is the boring part, but we got to do it. We got to do it. Let's see. I met with Mr. W. Slauson of the staff of the President's Commission on the Assassination of Robert Kennedy at 1400 hours. This is a whole 7 months. There's a whole 7 months, 8 months after he's assassinated. He meets with David Slauson of the staff of the President's Commission of the Assassination of President Kennedy at 1400 hours on this date in the Commission's office, 200 Maryland Avenue, Washington, D.C. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss apparent inconsistencies in the material provided by the Commission by CIA and by the Department of State, which were called to our attention in a letter from the General Counsel of the Commission to Mr. Helms. By way of introduction, Mr. Slauson said that in the portion of the Commission's report that he was writing, he would have to deal with the question of whether or not the Oswald's departure from the USSR and the circumstances, i.e. timing of that departure, were unusual or suspicious in any way. He expressed his belief that they probably were not and cited Soviet relaxation in such matters in the post-Stalin era. However, he wanted to be sure in his own mind that our information was not in conflict with that which the Commission had received from the state, since all of that information would remain in the records of the Commission. After stating my belief that there was no real disagreement or inconsistency between the information from the CIA and that of the state, I expressed the view that the matter resolved itself into 3 questions. A, do Soviet authorities normally permit Soviet citizens married to foreign nationals to immigrate from the Soviet Union to homelands of their spouses? Do they normally permit such Soviet citizens to accompany with their spouses from the Soviet Union? How long does it take such Soviet citizens to get Soviet exit visas or for such a purpose? Okay, another thing to look up. Let's look up our boy. Does it say his name here? Lee Harvey Oswald. Early life, let's just stop here for a minute for no particular reason. Let's just chill here for a minute. He was third cousin of President Theodore Roosevelt. Huh. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Well, let's look. What I wanted to see is his wife. Let's look up wife here. Yeah. Well, here it is. Okay. He was discharged from active duty in the Marine Corps, flew to Europe, defected to the Soviet Union, lived in Minsk, married a Russian woman named Marina, had a daughter. In June 1962, he returned to the United States with his wife and eventually settled in Dallas, Texas, where their second daughter was born. Okay, real. Good to know. Good to know. And Lee Harvey Oswald claimed that he was a patsy, he was a fall guy, and denied responsibility for the killing. Okay. Well, there we have a little bit more information about him. He's got this Soviet wife. Hating the gym and listening to this, it's going to be banger. Yeah, I don't know about that. This is probably going to be the... this is probably one of the more boring streams. Yo, Grand Canyon... Big shout out Grand Canyon over there in the Rumble chat. Thank you very much for the 5. He says, are you telling me there is not a cover page saying we did it, signed by the CIA? But what reason would the government lie? And have something to hide? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're telling me it doesn't just give me I can't get the Spark Notes on this? You can't give me the Cliffs Notes on this guy? Why doesn't the government just tell me it did it, huh? Why doesn't the... Yeah, it's true. It's X. You're right, actually. But why doesn't the government just tell me it did it, all right? That's what the whole release was supposed to prove. All right. Concerning the first two questions, 3A and 3B above, thank you very much, Grand Canyon, for the 5, by the way. I pointed out that we addressed ourselves mainly to the question of Soviet citizens being allowed to accompany their spouses abroad, while state dealt only with larger question of Soviets married to foreigners being allowed to immigrate without reference to whether or not they left simultaneously with or at another time from their spouses. Mr. Slauson commented that this explanation was the most helpful. He reread what both we and the state had said in that light. By way of further explanation, I said that the statements in paragraph 6 of our memorandum of 6 April 1964, it'd be awesome if somebody could just underline this and like put a hyperlink in to the stuff they're talking about. That would make this so much easier. I hope that comes out soon. I hope AI, just throw this all on AI now. Anyway, concerning Soviets being permitted to accompany their foreign spouses abroad were based on a review of 26 cases, of which 10 involved Americans. In only 4 of the cases did a Soviet wife leave the USSR in the company of her foreign husband. In 14 of the cases, the foreign spouse departed alone, and in the remaining 7 cases, insufficient details are known to permit us to categorize them. I added that although state's information began by citing the issuance of a 724 quota and non-quota immigrant visas by the American Embassy in Moscow during the period of fiscal year 1954 to December 1963, it did not indicate how many of these visas were for Soviet citizens who had married U.S. nationals. Actually, state provided detailed information for only 16 cases and did not indicate in many of these whether or not the Soviet was permitted to accompany the foreign spouse. 6. In response to a question from Mr. Slauson, I stated that most of the 26 cases upon which we based our statements involved foreign students, exchange teachers, and other relatively transient persons, and while a number of cases have certain points in common, they bear little similarity to the Oswald case in that none involved a defector who had married prior to repatriating. I don't know how you pronounce that word. Repatriation is like going back to the country. Think you could throw this into ChatGPT as a PDF? Yeah, throw it in ChatGPT. ChatGPT, who killed JFK? What is ChatGPT? Let's see what you have to say. Who killed JFK for real? One of the most debated and controversial events in American history. Concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. There you have it, folks. No. However, over the years, many conspiracy theories have emerged. These theories often point to various suspects, including the Mafia, the CIA, anti-Castro Cuban groups, or even elements of the U.S. government. Despite numerous investigations, no conclusive evidence. The official conclusion remains that Oswald acted alone, but the mystery surrounding the events... If Lee Harvey Oswald didn't kill JFK, who did? The Mafia. The CIA. This is interesting, the idea of the mafia. It says, the theory suggests that the mafia had a motive because JFK and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, were aggressively targeting organized crime figures. Some believe that mafia orchestrated the killing as retaliation. This is kind of an interesting theory. I don't know. I remember that Robert Kennedy, he was supposedly big on this, but ooh, yummy. Yo, we just got a supply drop from Mom. We just got 2 donuts. This is fantastic. We got a supply drop from Mom. Mom is not a fan of the cologne. She hates cologne that I use. But we just got a supply drop. How wholesome is that? Which mafia? No, the mafia, dude. Don't ask too many questions. You're gonna get whacked. Dude, supply drop moment. Yo, can we get a... I love my mom. Yo, Mom W. Mom W in the chat. This is so awesome. I was literally craving something yummy. All right, well, now we can get back into this. The second theory, the favorite Reddit theory, favorite leftist theory, the CIA. Real. Another theory is that the CIA, possibly in collaboration with anti-Castro Cuban exiles, was involved in the assassination. This theory posits that JFK's policies, particularly his handling of Cuba and the failed Bay of Pigs invasion, I remember playing that in Call of Duty, may have angered these groups. The theory suggests that the elements within the CIA, frustrated with Kennedy's approach, may have decided to take matters into their own hands. I don't really get this, man. It's like, you've got, Kennedy didn't do Cuba well. We're going to kill him. I don't think so. I think the CIA probably has way more strings to pull, especially around foreign policy. It's very interesting, For example, in 2016, post 2016 election, Trump was just undermined. Like, he was trying to pull out of the Middle East. I understand Kennedy and Trump lived in very different times and were different presidents, but Trump, was trying to pull out of the Middle East and was just literally undermined by the military industrial complex, by the generals. I forget the general's name, who just totally just denied his request. It's like, I refuse to believe that the easiest option is killing a sitting U.S. president. He had to be making some real trouble for that to have been the case. This is something that's like kind of interesting to me, the idea that it was like, I don't like his foreign policy. There's obviously more to it than that, but just interesting. Next idea, anti-Castro Cubans, angered by JFK's handling of Cuban Missile Crisis and Bay of Pigs invasion, orchestrated the assassination. Groups were deeply upset with Kennedy's perceived failure to support their efforts to overthrow Fidel Castro's regime. The military-industrial complex, a more far-reaching theory, suggests that elements within the U.S. military or the military-industrial complex conspired to have JFK removed. According to this theory, Kennedy was seen as too soft on communism, particularly in relation to his stance on Vietnam. Some believe that powerful interests in the military and defense sector saw this leadership detrimental to their goals. I don't know about that. Why would it be then? Why would it be easier to kill the sitting U.S. president than it would be to stage some kind of false flag attack? I suppose that maybe in the past, you could argue that it has been necessary that the executive branch is aware of the false flag attack and uses it as a pretext. But I don't know. I think you could totally find some kind of false flag attack. I don't know. The problem is I don't have a good sense of the workings of the federal government. I think you have to be there to realize how much gets to the president. Does everything get to the president? If you look at a case like Pearl Harbor, or if you look at a case like what other thing was I just thinking of? I think Pearl Harbor's a good point. Does the executive branch 100% of the time find out about this the false flag operations, or do they find out about attacks that are going to go down? And is it possible for, let's say the CIA to know that something's going to happen, fail to advise the president because they know it will force the president into a position of needing to support some foreign war? I wonder what would have been, I wonder what would be easier. I refuse to believe that killing a U.S. president is the easiest course of action here. Well, who knows? I'm spitballing. Another theory suggests that the VP, Lyndon B. Johnson, was somehow involved. That he was ambitious, wanted to become president. Second shooter theory. There's witnesses that claim to have heard shots come from this grassy knoll, and it was a coordinated effort with multiple shooters. And I think there's one theory that's left out here, but oh well, we'll keep going. King Tucker Carlson mentions or says, not to mention there was an election in a year. Is that true? How far along was Kennedy in his term? If that's true, yeah, I think it's an even more interesting point. I mean, you probably could have gotten him on a cheating scandal. You probably could have gotten him on a cheating scandal with Marilyn Monroe. You try to trump him. And that would probably be more effective. I mean, look at Bill Clinton, dude. You have some kind of, I mean, he did perjure. We don't know how it would have gone with Kennedy, but I think you could totally oust Kennedy for sexual impropriety much easier than, and that would be much easier than like killing him. So that's like, yeah, you make a good point there. I just think about all these alternatives, right? When does killing the sitting U.S. president become the easiest route? But I don't know. This can be applied to anything. That could be applied to any of these following suspects, right? You know, why did they choose to kill the president? What was going on? It makes me feel that there was some kind of urgency, and this is what I'm going to want to be looking for. You know, what inspired this urgency of killing the president a year before the election? Very interesting stuff. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just kind of skimming over this. Mr. Slauson indicated he would be sending parts of his report dealing with Soviet intelligence services to CIA for checking as their accuracy. All right, let's keep going. I can't even read that. Do you normally permit something to, I don't know, this is spouse of spouse to the homeland of spouse? I think it's basically, is this basically what we were reading at the top? This is super tough to read. These are the, okay. Now I'm understanding what we're looking at here. This is the analysis of the 27 or so cases, where 7 of them we didn't have enough evidence. I think this is not so necessary to go over. These are different cases of repatriate, or not of repatriation, but of immigration, of somebody who went to the USSR coming back to the United States with their spouses, ? Okay. At the time that Lee Harvey Oswald and Mrs. Oswald, or Marina Oswald, left Russia for the United States, was it illegal and normal under Soviet law and practice for a Russian national married to an American to be able to accompany him back to his homeland with the rapidity with which Lee Harvey Oswald was able to accomplish this with Marina's return in any way unusual? And they say it's based on a review of 26 cases, blah, blah, blah. Hold on. Italians are mentioned. Every time that Italians are mentioned, you got to keep your eye out. I'm going to be very careful with the Italians. Yo, Tali Bro Keanu, good to see you there in the chat. Kai is horrified. An organization covered up something terrible that happened in its ranks. Yeah, this is awful. This is terrible. Oh, dude, I spilled donut all over. What the freak? Well, let's look up. We could go through this. I think this is going to take a super long time. I severely underestimated the mundaneness of this. So this is an analysis of all these cases of the people who came to the United States with spouses, right? What it was saying at the beginning. It's kind of an analysis of all of them. I don't think it's super necessary to read through all that. We can kind of just, I hate to do it because you should never ever be the kind of person who just reads the abstract of a study or just reads the conclusion. But I think that's what we got to do right now. If I missed anything there, somebody pointed out to me, but I don't think it's super necessary. Let's get to the juicy stuff. What's this? Germany. I'm thinking we're back. What does it say here? Richest traces. Joachim Joestar. Joachim Joestar. Jojo. It's literally Jojo, dude. It's literally Jojo. Joachim Joestar. He's literally Jojo. We found Jojo in the JFK Files. This is crazy, guys. Yo, this is crazy. Yo, guys, what the heck? This is so crazy, guys. This is me right now. This is me when I find Jojo in the JFK Files. What? Season 9. Joachim Joestar. That's deck. Okay. We'll stop with this bit. I got so distracted. Yo, what's up, Cogburn Groiper? Good to see you, man. Long time no see. We are now going over the JFK Files. I hope you're happy. Nah, this is fire. Yeah, this is fire. We're really getting in there. Yo, Natty Camp Hero, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yo, I gotta track my calories. I just ate 2 donuts. Those tasted like what's that place called that sells donuts? Chat, can you tell me what's this place called that sells donuts? 2 glazed donuts. Donuts that are glazed. All right, we ate 2. We'll put them down as a snack. How are we doing on our macros, chat? How are we doing in our macros? All right, we need to eat 2,100 more calories today. We have 257 carbs remaining, 63 grams of fat, and 141 grams of protein. That's a ton of protein that we still have to eat, chat. Holy cow. But you got to do what you got to do, man. If you're trying to grow, you got to eat. You got to eat if you want to grow. That's how it is. There's no way around it. A lot of people think lifting weights is the tough part. It's not. That's not the tough part. The tough part is eating. Let's see what else we got here. Entire adult career and author of 30 books and numerous newspaper articles. Post with works very anti-Q-Bark. Who is this guy? Q-Bark. Counterintelligence interrogation. What is this? What is this? What are we looking at here? This manual cannot teach anyone how to be or become a good interrogator. So it's like an interrogation tactic. Q-Bark is an interrogation tactic. Or method. Against communists. The studies by no means confined to resume an interpretation of psychological findings. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, it looks like most intelligence terminology employed here, which may once have been ambiguous, has been clarified through the usage or through Q-Bark instructions. What the heck is... I think this is it's not super clear. The legislation which founded Q-Bark specifically denied it any law enforcement or police powers. It does look like it's an interrogation manual or handbook or style. Wendell could make a 3-hour stream on each PDF. Very true. Very true. Huh. Okay. What is this? Interrogations conducted under compulsion or arrest are especially likely to involve illegality and entail damaging consequences for QBARC. Therefore, prior headquarters approval at the QDOV level must be obtained for the interrogation of any source against his will or under any of the following circumstances. I'm just going to look up what is QBARC. It's a cryptonym used by the CIA. What? Give me the AI. Used to refer to the CIA headquarters in Langley. Oh, okay. And it is also the CIA interrogation manual. Okay, so we were halfway right. Very interesting. QBARC refers to both the CIA headquarters and a controversial CIA interrogation manual. Well, that's super interesting. Maybe we'll keep that up. Maybe we'll just keep that open and we'll keep that like held there just to be able to look into this stuff. Very interesting to know. So this guy's writing a lot about, he's writing against the QBARC stuff. This is produced when? What is the date? 64? Is this in 64? Yeah, 30th of September 64. So this guy, way before it's like declassified, is writing against it. But this, within context, anti-QBARC could mean just anti-CIA. Last OK title, Oswald Assassin or Fall Guy, has written under name and under pseudonyms. Franz von Nesselrode, H.F. Lincoln, Pelican, I don't know, Walter Kell, Paul Delathius. These all look like BAP BAP pseudonyms. These all look like BAP pseudonyms. Very interesting, very interesting. BAP found some new pseudonyms to use. Thinking we're back. I'm thinking we're BAP. Hold on, fellas. I just realized the power chat thing here is a little large. We're gonna make that a little smaller. I have a bad habit of kind of crouching down, so gonna make this guy a little smaller so it's not so much in the way. Just makes it bigger like a boss. Actually makes it bigger like a boss. For $500, for $500K, would you let somebody poop in your mouth? No. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. I would never. That's degenerate. Anyway, according captured Gestapo docs, he joined Germ CP. What the? On May 1932, and had membership. Owned lending library. Sometime after blah blah blah, went to the USSR where he remained till 33. During absence, his library managed by fiance Anna something Chinsky. Last residence Germany, Berlin, Leutzowstraße 40, by Hess. Well, May 33, fled to France, was in Cope 36, 37, but expelled because his anti-Danish government writings. Left Denmark for France via Iceland and 40 in Sweden, married May. So this is a big, we're finding all about this guy, finding out all about this guy. End of message. All right, so this is it. This is his background. This is a guy who wrote about Lee Harvey Oswald. Yeah, this is a guy who just wrote about it, suggesting that he may have been a fall guy. Assassin or fall guy is what he said. But that's all we get about him. We get the background. Well, let's keep looking. Let's keep seeing here. What is this guy? This is a name and consolidation request. One Roman Fedorovich, born in 27, USSR. Born December 31st December in Minsk. Applied for, were listed as applicants for entry visas to India sometime prior to 1962. Dedkov, who was issued Soviet passport, was scheduled to arrive in New Delhi for 2 years as an English language teacher at the Soviet embassy. It's not known if Dedkov actually arrived in New Delhi. I can't even read that. Not out. I can't. If you write in cursive, just stop, okay? Hey, ¿qué tal, hermano Clips? ¿Cómo anda? Urban Moving. Good to see you, friend. Do you know about Fall Guys? Yeah, this guy played a lot of Fall Guys. By the sound of things. Okay, subject scheduled to arrive in New Delhi for 2 years as an English teacher. All right, this is it. Perfect. What the? What the heck was even that? Sussy. Oh no. Guys, they're gonna kill me. Did that alarm go off? They found out about the stream. Oh no, I'm gonna get killed. Ah, what do I need to do? I'm not going down without a fight. I've got my American screwdriver. That was keck. That was a little funny. That was funny timing. Sorry about that, guys. What that was is a little space heater that I have here to keep the space nice and warm. And the space heater just started tweaking out. Whenever you move it or adjust it, it makes a loud ringing noise. It was not actually the CIA coming in to assassinate me, I promise. Did you guys not hear anything? That's good. It's good that you didn't hear anything, because it was a huge, like, no one heard anything. You're insane. They might be coming to kill me then. I'm just tweaking. I might just be tweaking. Mostly a dump of profiles, people of interest. Yo, Natty Camp Hero, thank you very much for the super chat. He says, Kai, you should be the top streamer on Cozy. There's only like 4 others. Step up your game, foo. Well, I just need people to follow me. I can be the top streamer on Cozy. I can get that done. I heard it. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for not lying to me. Top right Zoomer lies to me all the time. He's a big freaking liar. Big liar pants. Hey, yo. Thank you for the follow.
Just followed on Cozy.
Thank you very much, friend Urban Moving. Yeah, you see, this is how we do it.
Undead
And there we go.
Groiper
Thank you. Undead Groiper. Appreciate it. See, now we're actually becoming, you see what a super chat can do? Well done, Natty Camp Hero. You're about to make us into the top 4. The number 1 streamer on Cozy. W follows. That is so true. So let's keep reading this. This is, are these people of interest? Yo, Chief, what's Chief Trumpster doing in these files? What the? That was my MK Ultra activation sound. Oh no. So true. I just start wigging out. It's like that moment in Call of Duty when you've been brainwashed and you have like the visions of shooting Kennedy. That's what they're trying to do to me, but like deleting this entire stream. The Warren Commission's report on the assassination of President Kennedy focused attention on the magnitude of the problem involved in the protection of the chief executive. As you know, it is our responsibility overseas and in headquarters to render every support possible to the Secret Service and in conduct of its statutory responsibilities in the United States, especially when the president travels abroad. Circumstances confronting the Warren Commission produced discussion and testimony on various aspects of the problem of presidential protection and on interagency operational cooperation, which normally do not find their way into public domain. These include the acquisition and dissemination of information, consultation, coordination, and operational exchanges. Say that 10 times fast. I believe you will be interested in the attached extracts of testimony given before the Warren Commission by the U.S. intelligence and security officials. Pertinent portions have been sidelined. Okay, so the big thing that we're looking at here as well is the Warren Commission. The Warren Commission is, from what I gather, a commission about the assassination of JFK. By LBJ. And it was right after he was assassinated. A week later is when this was ordered. And this is where the finding comes from, that Lee Harvey Oswald was the one who assassinated Kennedy, and it was done entirely alone. So, and it's about Chief Justice Earl Warren, who was the chairman of the commission. That's why it's named the Warren Commission. Very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Okay, guys. The conclusions of the report were fired from the shots. The wounded, the guys were fired from the 6th floor window in the southeast corner of Texas School Book Depository. President Kennedy was first struck by a bullet which entered the back of his neck, exited through the lower front portion of his neck, causing a wound that would have not necessarily been lethal. The president was struck by a second bullet which entered the right rear portion of his head, causing a massive and fatal wound. Governor Connolly was struck by a bullet which entered the right side of his back, traveled downward to the right side of his chest, exiting below his right nipple. This bullet passed through his wrist and entered his left thigh. Then it caused a superficial wound. There's no credible evidence the shots were fired from the triple underpass ahead of the motorcade from any other location. The weight of the evidence indicates there were 3 shots fired, although it is not necessary to any essential findings of the commission to determine just which shot hit Governor Connolly. There is very persuasive evidence, blah, blah, blah. The shots that killed President Kennedy and wounded Governor Connolly were fired by Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald killed Dallas police patrolman approximately 45 minutes after the assassination. Ruby entered the basement of Dallas Police Department and killed Lee Harvey Oswald. There's no evidence to support the rumor that Ruby may have been assisted by any members of the Dallas Police Department. The commission has found no evidence that either Lee Harvey Oswald or Jack Ruby was part of any conspiracy, domestic or foreign, to assassinate President Kennedy. Very interesting stuff. This is interesting. The commission could not make any definitive determination of Oswald's motives. This is super interesting to me. And it's, whenever I see this, it's a huge red flag to me. It is a huge red flag, the fact that we never find out the motivations of these people. When you look at what I would call authentic shootings and stuff like that, obviously you can plant stuff, but most people leave behind like a pretty good kind of digital footprint or even write stuff. If you're going to do something as crazy as killing the president, you're doing it for a particular reason, and you're leaving some kind of paper trail behind. I refuse to believe that you don't leave some kind of paper trail. If you look, for example, well, it's a little different because the suspect's a little different. Maybe it wasn't so thought out. But you look at, what was this guy's name? Darrell Brooks? Darrell Brooks, was he the Waukesha guy? Darrell Brooks. Yeah, he was the Waukesha guy. This guy, his motives were all over it. Let's look at motivation. He was posting all kinds of stuff against white people. He was being very clearly racist. Where is this? What does it say? I wonder what it says. He did not elaborate. He did not elaborate on why he drove his SUV into the parade, stating that he feels dehumanized and demonized. Sorry for demonizing you after driving into a parade. Law enforcement has not given a definitive motive for the attack either. See, I don't believe that either. Some white supremacists have falsely claimed the attack was racially motivated. Yeah, for sure. There's no evidence to support these claims. Darrell Brooks, social media. Well, let's look at Darrell Brooks' social media. Let's see what kind of stuff he was posting. What's all this stuff on that? This is sus. This is so sus. Why can't we ever be on websites without like softcore pornography? I can't even get rid of them. That's so sad. He's an amateur rapper. He had shared a series of links and memes relating to race and white privilege when protests erupted over the death of George Floyd. Learn no top behavior. So when we start back knocking white people the F out, I don't want to hear it. The old white people too, knock them the F out, period. Followed by a middle finger and expletive emoji. Well, gee, I wonder what the inspiration for this attack was. When did this happen, by the way? Can we get our timeline here? November 21st, 2021. So, like, a little over a year prior, he's saying this kind of stuff. Very interesting. I wonder if he had any kind of epiphany before his attack, that he changed his racial perspectives. What is... Dude, this is crazy. This is hilarious. Hold on. Brooks shared a post about a white cop being violent towards peaceful protesters 6 days earlier. Brooks' troubling record has raised questions about the alleged motives. Among brow-raising social media posts was a meme about Adolf Hitler and the identity of the real Jews. The graphic posted on November 2015 claimed Negroes are the true Hebrews and that America had moved false white Jews into the state of Israel. The post seemed to promote the views of black Hebrew Israelites who believe African Americans are literal descendants of the Israelites in the Bible. Brooks had shared the meme with a caption, "Research," and said, "Real game right here." That's crazy. So anyway, this is our boy. I suppose you could say that we don't know what the motivation is. And it's possible that he didn't have too crazy of a motivation. But okay, you know, let's be serious here. There's definitely some anti-white animosity here. If that wasn't something that inspired his attack, I don't know what is. If we look as well, like for example, at the what was the shooting in Christchurch, New Zealand, you know, this shooter has a motive. Almost every shooter, and this is also kind of like the weird thing. Every single right-wing shooting, or every single shooting like against a group of people from like a white dude has a motive. You know, every single one that turns out or is characterized by like as a hate crime or something like that. These are always have clear motives that are very easily found, even if they're more disguised. Maybe it's because there's more of a manifesto culture in the right-wing supremacy. But, you know, this is kind of ridiculous. Every single time that there's not a motivation to like some major attack, I just get sussed out. That's something that I find very, very weird. Let's keep going. What is this? I believe you will be interested in the attached extracts of testimony. Pertinent portions have been sidelined. Commend these materials for reading by all officers in senior positions of responsibility. So this is probably just going to say like, hey, you know, we should probably have stepped up our game here. Oh, it doesn't even say anything. Okay. Well, that's great. It doesn't say anything. Doesn't say anything. In this one at least. In this one at least. And the next one, what does it say? The AF division. What the? Salisbury, Rhodesia, going down to Salisbury town, or is it my imagination? Got it fast, we're moving it last, for rest and recuperation. That's a banger, John Edmonds, Salisbury, banger. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This Darrell Brooks guy is kind of crazy, man. Kind of a real nut job, you know. Thank you for the letter of 15th October recommending against the declassification of Warren Commission document, blah, blah, blah. This is it. Cores relating to this, including navies, okay. Yeah, nothing real too juicy there. Records indicate that this Russian guy, traveled to Mexico, France, Spain, and the U.S. and Cuba from 1959 to 61. He was assigned permanently to Mexico City as a consular officer and served there until August 1965. He was variously described as translator, vice consul, blah, blah. Lee Harvey Oswald approached the Soviet embassy in October of 1963. So we're talking 2 months. 2 months before the assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald approached the Soviet embassy in Mexico City in an attempt to get a visa allowing him to return to the USSR. Kostikov, as a consular officer, handled this visa request. We have no information which indicates any relationship between these individuals other than for the purpose of Oswald's making his visa request. Kostikov returned to Mexico City for the second tour of duty in 1968, signed to a consular and was the second secretary. He provided some communist parties and left-wing parties with funds, with money. He made trips to Moscow. Made a 4-day trip to Havana 7 years after the assassination. While in Mexico, he was considered by some to be most effective and dangerous of intelligence officers. In Mexico, he has been described as being without morals, education, and manners. Shortly after his arrival in Mexico, he was arrested in front of a house of prostitution. Uh-oh. Like I said, guys, degeneracy is the big thing. Degeneracy is the thing that gets that gets everybody down bad. It's always degeneracy. Becoming a fist, he got involved in a fist fight with some locals. That's funny. It appears this incident did not affect his position in Mexico City, despite the fact that it received a good deal of press coverage. Okay, so here's one of our guys, one of the sussy guys who gave our boy a visa. Same guy here. We also note that Epstein. What the? All right. He is identified as he is identified KGB and served in Mexico. There's a reference to him on 307 Barron's KGB, which suggests that he may have been Department 5. We do not appear to have asked Lyalin about him. We are now doing so. We also note that Epstein, in legend, claims that according to a CIA telecheck, Kostikov was Lee Harvey Oswald's KGB case officer in Mexico City. According to Barron, Oswald was in Mexico between September and November 1963 and was seeking to obtain a Soviet visa. There was certainly a KGB interest in Oswald, although according to Nosenko, this was defensive. The reason for our current interest in Kostikov will be obvious. As you are aware, our embassy in Beirut, in common with other Western missions, has been subject to threats of violence in recent months, and our view of earlier hostile intentions from the KGB. We've been reviewing our records of KGB staff who might have been involved in prompting strong-arm tactics. Would be grateful for your views as to whether KGB are likely to be behind any of the recent incidents, possibly through the Syrians, and for any particular information on Kostikov and his activities in Mexico or Beirut. Very interesting. Doesn't look like this is involved in the shooting. The idea of them being interested in Lee Harvey Oswald defensively is probably because, this is a guy who lived in Russia, repatriated, went back to the United States, and in that same time frame is working to get his Russian visa back, which is kind of weird. You have this American guy who's kicked out of the military, goes to Russia, finds a wife, goes with his wife to America, and in the next few years starts working to get his Soviet visa back. Well, that is kind of interesting. That is a little sus. But who knows? Maybe he was hoping to get back to Russia after the assassination. It might be how that's interpreted. What do we have here? British Embassy. Wrote a letter on February 15th, 1978. On July 18th, 1963, a few months before the assassination, I was in London, England at the airport, immigration officer number 175. I had no visa. Immigration placed me under house arrest. Mr. Smith in a police uniform, Secret Service, brought me steak dinner, and police officer interrogated me. He asked me what the embassy of USSR say. What did you heard in Vienna, Austria? I said I have heard that one American defector, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald, to Russia, and that he returned to the United States of America. This man he preparing to kill to assassinate President John F. Kennedy. Mr. Smith, police officer, asked me, do you know his name? I said his name start with O. His name was published one time in the newspaper in Washington Post. Mr. Smith, police officer, said it is easy to find. Who is this guy? This is to the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. This is, he claims to have, that he provided information about Lee Harvey Oswald to the American Vice Consul in Bulgaria. So how does this guy know our dude? On July 18th, 1963. How does our guy know Lee Harvey Oswald? I do searching for this file in something police, Britain intelligence, and British immigration, asking your embassy to help to find the truth, and I ask your government to forward my record of July 18th, 1963 to President Jimmy Carter and Senator Daniel K. Inouye, the Senator Select Committee, to also I enclose your copy letter on February 17, 1978 to Russian something. Your justice always will be app. My incoming mail is controlled by FBI agents. Some of mail get not forward to me. FBI suppress my information and torture me by drugged. Respectfully yours. Well, that's kind of crazy. So this guy's saying that the FBI is interrogating him and drugging him and suppressing his letters that he tried to send to U.S. senators. Okay, what's this? Dear sir, this is to a Russian ambassador by our boy Sergei. He says, Mr. Vasilev, consul, gave me an order to transmit this information to U.S. government on August 9th, 1963 in Sofia, Bulgaria. Mr. Vasilev, consul of embassy of USSR, gave me this information about Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald on August 14th, 1963. Mrs. Basera Senova, girlfriend of Russian consul, came to my room and repeated that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is assassin. He will kill President Kennedy. On August 15th, so this is several months prior to the assassination, this guy, Sergi, is in Bulgaria, and the consul of the embassy of the USSR, his girlfriend, came to his room and told him that Lee Harvey Oswald is an assassin and will kill President Kennedy. He then tells this to Mr. Blackshire, American vice consul, that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is an assassin. He has a weapon or has ordered one. Mr. Blackshire said it seems like he will kill someone. I said that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald is preparing to kill President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. Mr. Blackshire said, where will it happen? I said, they, right wing, will invite President, criticize him in the newspaper, then kill him. Mr. Blackshire told me he will give the telegram to the Department of State and gave me the address where to report. At 9 a.m. on August 19th, 1963, in Washington, D.C., I went to see Mr. Clippingham, Director of Special Counsel or Service Department of State, 1901 Pennsylvania Avenue, blah, blah, blah. I told the director I have information about President Kennedy. The director said, do not mention the name of President Kennedy, only respond to the questions. The director said, tell us what will happen to Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald then. I said, Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald will be killed after kill Kennedy. I said, I will take the truth drug to tell the truth. Director, tell us who else get killed in this country. I said, as I heard, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be killed. Who will kill Dr. King Jr., Negro leader? I said, a man who is in prison at this time. Mr. James Earl Ray was in prison at that time. Director asked where assassination will happen. I said, in Dallas, Texas. Director said, if someone gave this information here, I would expel the man. Director did call on FBI agents after FBI used anesthesia gas to freeze me, to drug me to keep amnesia. I told Director, Department of State, that Lee Harvey Oswald have a weapon. Go see him. Director told me you too can have a weapon. So what if Oswald got weapon? Okay. This is a retyped letter. Is it the same thing? So this is interesting. So this guy just like knows about everything. So this guy knows about the JFK assassination. He knows about the assassination of Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And where's this guy getting his information from? From the vice consul or from the consul of the USSR's girlfriend? I don't know. This seems a little planted. I don't know though. Let's keep reading. Well, now we're getting into the good stuff, at least. Reading this guy, by the way, in the broken English, it just sounds super schizo. He just sounds super, super schizophrenic, which is hilarious. This is retyped letter. I visited Mr. Ferry on August 16, 1977. This is, okay, real. He's writing to the district attorney of Sacramento, California here. I told in the office that FBI agents and Secret Service use police department to harass me. Police department do supply pencil of anesthesia to the manager of the building I live. The manager do or use certain people to freeze me by anesthesia gas, then push drugs, poison in my mouth to torture me, to take my sleep away, or bleed by rectal. What the? And they use many other chemicals to brainwash me in political assassination, which I refused. You know what's interesting? I want to look this up. I want to see if that kind of stuff is in here. Threats and fear, debility, pain, narcosis. Pages 92 through 93. Do we even have access to those pages? We might not. We might not have access to those pages. Oh, I don't think we do. I don't think we do have access to those pages. It's so over. It just ends at 60. Okay. I wanted to see if this stuff is mentioned here. This is crazy. I got to study this up so I can get so I can be aware of of how to interrogate people. I'm going to look this back up. QBark manual. Oh, this is just the first 60 pages. Can I get the whole QBark manual? QBark manual PDF? Yeah, it's not the whole thing. I want the whole thing. I wonder if it's on Google Scholar. Let's look this up. Let's look up Google Scholar. This is a hack, by the way, guys. Let's look up QBark. QBark counterintelligence. No, that's all French. QBark counterintelligence interrogation review. This is so interesting, fellas. This is so interesting. I wonder if the CIA has instructions on how to use many other chemicals to brainwash me to use me in political assassination, which I refused. Or to freeze them by anesthesia gas, then push drugs, poison in my mouth to torture me to take my sleep away or bleed by rectal. And they use many other chemicals to brainwash me to use in political assassination, which I refused. Hey, don't give me drugs to make me into a political assassin. Don't do it. Okay, he refused, guys. We can't go on with this. It's like, what? You're telling me after all that, you didn't refuse the rest of the stuff? You didn't refuse the push drugs, poison in my mouth to torture me to take my sleep away or bleed by rectal? You didn't refuse that? On January 20th, 1976 in Sacramento on 8th and I Streets, man came to me from police or post office, U.S. Department of Justice, freeze me by gas and told me to take gun, pistol, and we will tell you where to go shoot to kill Mr. Sergeant Shriver. I refused. Okay. Manager, Mr. Cecil of Marshall Hotel, called on the man to tell me this on the street. February 1976, police intelligence told me that the assassination will not happen here. How about move to Maryland State? In this letter, I ask you to get report from Dr. Frederick S. Baker, colon and rectal surgery on 31st, 1978. His phone. I do bleed today very much, and I am weak. Oof. This sounds really bad, man. He is the Joker. In this letter, I ask you to give restraint order or respond to me what could be done. The right wing and American made record to use me in assassination. I refuse. I am human. I like to be treated as human. Police put frame up on me just to take advantages on me. Police use lie. Police use mental case to take advantage on me and tell me that right wing do such people like me. To prove I enclose copy midnight, June 14th, 1976. That's crazy. Justice for Sergey. Justice for this guy, Sergey. This is the weirdest name ever. Hey, dude. Okay, Sergey Zornono. Who is this guy? Grave? No. Was a person born on September 16, 1922. He was born in California? Huh. Claimed to have been interrogated by police in London. Despite these claims. Huh. Very interesting. This is him probably. This is his he died much later. He died in 2006. So it's not like anybody's rushing to assassinate this guy. If he was born, well, here's my question. If this guy was born in California, why is his English so broken? Is this true? Like, I don't know. Well, very interesting, man. Very interesting. As insufferable as Ryan Dawson is, you'll get a lot more out of his docs and crime maps about this than any of these. I might need to check that out. What's Ryan Dawson saying about this? I do know he does these kind of deep dives, right? I actually don't know anything about him. I know nothing about Ryan Dawson. He's one of those people who I have like never interacted with ever, who I just kind of hear people mentioning him. Well, let's see what this guy's talking about. Let's see what Ryan Dawson's on about. Israel stole the bomb and killed JFK. Do you really think it will matter for the world to learn that Israel killed JFK? They just murdered 423 people last night without consequence. Which file is this? I want to see this file that everybody keeps posting. What is this? Hold on. That was re-released in 2017. It was first released in 1967, but there was no internet back then, so nobody really saw it. Ted Shackley, James Angleton of Counterintelligence set up a cell working with Israelis for purpose of assassinations. Jewish backers were the Israeli state, and I've gone over why. 109. Linking Israel. Okay, can I just actually, can you tell me what the case is? Can you tell me what happened? I don't want to read. I just want to know what happened. Okay. What's our guy saying? Yeah, what's that? Okay, you know what? I think I'm actually getting more out of reading this. If anybody has any good stuff. He talked about this years ago, as did a bunch of other historians. Yeah, this is the interesting thing, is it seems to me, just from my read of the situation, that a lot of this stuff has been out forever. And now it's just being hyped up because you got the whole release and it's been kind of politicized. But a lot of this stuff seems like it's been out for a very long time. Kai, have you listened to Bully? I actually haven't. I got to listen to that. I've been listening to the Men I Trust album. Well, I just feel bad for our guy over here, for our guy Sergei. He really went through the ringer. On this. This is another letter. This is to acknowledge receipt of your letter regarding difficulties you have encountered with the police and FBI. In the event that there is legal action taken by the police or the FBI to institutionalize you, this office will provide you with legal representation. If you have any further legal problems, please contact this office. Leslie K. But this doesn't really prove anything. This just kind of proves that he wrote and complained about it. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. This guy does seem kind of schizophrenic to me. We are forwarding herewith a reprint of the article, A Reporter of Large Garrison. It was written by Edward J. Epstein, himself author of a book, Inquest, Critical of Warren Commission Report. So this is the guy. No, this is a different dude. Not the guy who's talking about Q-Bark. Let's keep going. The widespread campaign of adverse criticism of the U.S., most recently, again provoked by the assassination of Senator Robert Kennedy, appears to have revived foreign interest in the assassination of his brother, the late President Kennedy, too. The forthcoming trial of Sirhan, accused of the murder of Senator Kennedy, can be expected to cause a new wave of criticism and suspicion against the United States, claiming once more the existence of a sinister political murder conspiracy. We are sending you the attached article, based either on first-hand observation by the author or on other identified sources, since it deals with the continuing investigation conducted by District Attorney Garrison of New Orleans, Louisiana. That investigation tends to keep alive speculations about the death of President Kennedy and alleged conspiracy, and about the possible involvement of federal agencies, notably the FBI and the CIA. The article is not meant for reprinting in any media. It is forwarded primarily for your information and for information of all station personnel concerned. May use the article to brief interested contacts. Especially government and other political leaders, and to demonstrate 2 assets which you may assign to counter such attacks, that there is no hard evidence of any such conspiracy. In this context, assets may have to explain to their audiences certain basic facts about the U.S. judicial system, its separation, okay, blah, blah. Let's keep going. All right, that's about it there. This is not really much either. See a letter from Charles Spry, Director General, Australian Security Intelligence Organization. Sir Charles' letter to you recommends against declassification of the Warren Commission document CD 971, which refers to our investigation of anonymous telephone calls to the embassy before and after assassination of President Kennedy. I consider the points made by Sir Charles in his letter to be valid and accordingly recommend against declassification for in the foreseeable future. This is interesting. So this is against the declassification of a certain document. That document is, what was it? CD 971. I wish we could just find that. Yeah, I wish I could just click here. I wish I could just click here and say, hey, by the way, you don't hallucinate rectal bleeding. I wish you could say, like, hey, what is this? CD 971. It's probably not been declassified. It's probably not out here. We probably can't even look at it. And this is the crappy thing, right? No, it says don't declassify this. Well, now I want to know what's in it. If you're saying don't declassify it, I want to know what's in that thing. Thank you for the letter of October or 15th of October recommending against the declassification of Warren Commission document. This is the same one. I might mention that our inquiry to you in August was in anticipation of further pressure for the release of the Warren Commission papers, a pressure which has not materialized. Accordingly, there is not at present time any intention to release CD 971. Would the question be raised at some future time? The points made by you in your letter provide every reason to keep the document out of public domain. With kindest regard, Richard Helms. This is very interesting. Yeah, this is super interesting. And Richard Helms, let's do a little background check here. Richard Helms is the director of Central Intelligence from 66 to 73. Very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Our boy here. Very sussy history. Okay, well, got our boy Helms, Richard Helms. Good old Dick Helms. So what does Dick Helms not want getting out? That's the question. But anyway, we stopped on 79, so now we'll keep going. Oh, I don't think they're all in order. That sucks. Goodness galorpus. Okay, this is continuing here. Fax station received, blah, blah. First page of Director K will request you trace Lee Harvey Oswald. This is nothing. The 9th of November, 1991. What is this from? 1991. Yeah, this is 1993 that we're reading from. Professor Smith had several discussions in Moscow with Slava Nikonov, his longtime friend and deputy to KGB Director Bakatin. The professor has known Nikonov well since 1976. He currently is instructing Fulbright grant at St. Petersburg State University. Nikonov is the grandson of former Soviet minister. Professor believed that he was likely to be a rising star in the Soviet system, recommended him for an IRIC-sponsored visit to the U.S. I'm tired, dude. Goodness galorpus. Nikonov personally reviewed KGB files to determine if Lee Harvey Oswald had been a KGB agent. He reviewed 5 thick volumes of files on Oswald. 5 thick volumes of files on Oswald. Nikonov is now confident that Oswald was at no time an agent controlled by the KGB. From the description of Oswald in the files, he doubted that anyone could control Oswald, but noted that the KGB watched him closely and constantly while he was in the USSR. He commented that Oswald had a stormy relationship with his Soviet wife, who wrote him incessantly. That sounds real sus. The file also reflected that Oswald was a poor shot when he tried target firing in the USSR. That's interesting. In preparation for establishment of a liaison relationship with the Swedish intelligence service, Nikonov personally performed an inquiry for Bakatin into the fate of Swedish diplomat Raoul Wallenberg. Raoul? I don't know. There's still pressure from Swedish side to have a definitive answer on this matter because of the continuing importance of the Wallenberg family. Nikonov was amazed to find out the KGB had not been able to previously establish whether Wallenberg had died and under what circumstances. He was able to find partial evidence from 14 different sources. Nikonov now believes, but found no conclusive proof, that Wallenberg was executed late in 1947. There were indications that Wallenberg was suspected of having contacts with others who were accused of providing false diplomatic identity documents to others beyond Jews saved from the Holocaust. Among these were Nazi war criminals who were allowed to escape. There was no proof of Wallenberg's guilt in any of these charges. Fulbright professor, who is Nikonov's former professor and friend, is this person. Okay, very interesting stuff. This is interesting. This guy Nikonov is a KGB official assigned to investigate if Lee Harvey Oswald was a KGB asset, like 30 years prior. And it's interesting. The interesting point here is what it makes about, you know, him being a bad shot in target practice, his wife being frustrating. Very interesting. During this conversation, Abreu stated that Cuban President Fidel Castro, Ruz was unhappy with the prospect of Cuban elections that are to be held in Havana in December 1993. Honduran officials said that although the elections were already held in 1993, they are going to be repeated, and there's a possibility that Castro will lose. In mid-May 93, National Party Congress President Rodolfo Navas Miguel and Martel traveled to Cuba. Oh, traveled. I thought that was his last name. And Martel traveled to Cuba. I literally just said traveled. I am stupid. I'm retarded. To Cuba on an unofficial visit. At that time, the three men were wined and dined by Fidel Castro. It is apparent from Abreu's conversation with Martel that he is a trusted friend of the Cubans. On 27th of November, Cuban official Ruben Suarez spoke with another Kennedy official posted in Managua, Maria Lopez, about the Kennedy assassination. Lopez claimed that Brigadier General Fabian Escalante, font of the Ministry of Interior, was handling the matter and that he had information that could positively identify the Kennedy assassins. Wow. So these guys, so you got Castro, who is not even, oh no, it wasn't Castro, it was Ruben Suarez. And Lopez, this girl Maria Lopez, she was running her big mouth saying that we were looking into the JFK assassination, and that she had a guy that could positively identify him. That is interesting. Jeez, we've been going a while. What is it saying here? 2-page facts. It should be noted that the writer refers to a time period of 1980 and also a contact with Paul Lee of New Bolton, Denver contact. I think you people should know what is coming down the pike. In case there's bad play from some people I know in reference to matters I've discussed with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in the House, closed-door testimony 1990-1992, I do not want to establish any form of contact with the NBTAG other than these facts. However, I felt I should make some form of contact before the fact just in case something goes secret. Something goes sour in the next few months. I still like to consider myself as a friend of the NBTAG. What is the NBTAG? Can somebody tell me that? NBTAG. Let's look this up too. NBTAG. It is a cryptonym. Definition: FBA in the 1990s. Okay. Well, it looks like the NBTAG is the FBI. Real. Okay. Let's keep going. So I like to consider myself a friend of the FBI, but sometimes you people make it extremely difficult. The enclosed facts is just intel matter that someday may play an important role in one of your investigations. In November 1980, I sabotaged the Denver Magazine article "Fear and Loathing on the Assassination Trail" because the documents and information I was giving to the magazine to verify certain events I alleged was being given to the Denver FBI. Boxes of government documents, pictures, names, and dates were turned over to Denver Magazine. Doris Keller, editor; Peter Boyles, writer; Dovan, researcher. From these documents, Dovan and others used the documents and my statements to verify the fact sheet that is contained within the article. The FBI came to my place before the article and published and talked to me before the article was published and talked to me about incriminating statements I had made to the Denver Magazine. Shortly after that, I changed names and dates in the article in an attempt to discredit the article and myself. I did not want to be part of any government probe into my past activities in behalf of the New Bolton and Cuban desk and my Cuban friends. I never saw the article before it was published, never wanted to, especially after meeting with the FBI and Paul Lee of the New Bolton. Well, what's that? Is that another? No. N.W. Bolton. Cryptonym CIA. Okay. New Bolton is the CIA. And what was the other one? What was our other little pseudonym here? The NV tag. N.W. Bolton and the Cuban desk and my Cuban friends. I never saw the article before it was published, never wanted to, especially after the meeting with the FBI. And Paul Lee of the CIA, Denver contacted the I said to hell with them and all associated with the Kennedy FBI mess. Shortly after that, my house in Grant, Colorado was firebombed and I was attacked and beat up outside of a restaurant in Evergreen, Colorado. Witnesses and police reports on file as the event took place August of 81. I made peace with my enemies and went back to work as a pilot until the Contra thing blew up. This is the Iran-Contra issue. And I testified 3 times to the Senate and Congress. The Kennedy matter is contained within that testimony, as well as the Boyle article. That testimony is classified top secret, committee sensitive today. Someday it'll be declassified, and then I'll talk some more. I hope this helps you and your pending project. However, I can't see how I can be of any help to you. I am not a creditable source by my own doing. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it was set up. Joe and I talked at length about this in California after our meeting with Oliver Stone. Wow, what the? Even talked with Stone and his people about it. Hang in there. I wish all of you the best as you try. I wish all of you the best as you try to untangle the maze and minefields that are still out there. You know, this is really interesting. Now we're getting into now we're getting into a very interesting kind of dichotomy here. This is very fascinating. This guy, this is really interesting to read about. We're not really getting too much about JFK, but we're getting a decent sense of what these names and words mean. We're getting a decent idea of how the FBI operates. This whole story to me seems very legit. I read it and I think this is legit. I just don't know what it has to do with JFK. Was he originally talking? Did I miss this? He was originally talking about about JFK, or I think people should know what's coming down the pike in case there's a bad play from some people I know in reference to matters I've discussed with Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So he's contacting the FBI. Is that real? To the director. Yeah. Right into the FBI by individual claiming former association with the CIA. Robert Vernon from Plumlee, aka Pearson. And he calls him Bob. So he knows a decent bit. So I guess he was maybe talking about the assassination of Kennedy in this article. And they basically forced him. The CIA basically forced him to discredit himself. This is interesting. This is very interesting. All right, well, let's keep going. Please pass the Knox Sydney B. Cali Crate. I think this is Montevideo of Chile. I don't know. This cable contains assessment data. While family staying together in a rather small beach house, wife got into a fight. Hold on. The driving from Montevideo, Chuy. He does not like driving at night or in the rain. In contrast with a normally pleasant personality, he becomes aggressive and nervous behind the wheel. This is crazy. This is like them spying on him, on this guy. Very interesting. Yeah, they're like totally spying on a guy. While families were staying together in a rather small beach house, L1 and his wife got into a fight. She appeared to be the instigator. Typical. Hey, thank you very much, Punch Women, for the follow.
Women just followed on
Thank you for the follow, Punch Women. Yo, everybody punch that like button. Everybody punch that like button, guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for continuing to be in this live stream. We truly are uncovering the truth. While families were staying together in a rather small beach house, she appeared to be an instigator. Talked to L1's wife. F86's wife later talked to L1's wife in private. L1's wife said she blames L1 because when L1 divorced his previous wife, he gave her his apartment. Thus, L1 and his current wife will not have their own place to live when they eventually return to Cuba. This is why during their previous trip to Cuba from Uruguay, L1 and his wife built an extra room under the house of Mrs. L1's parents in Guanabo. Mrs. L1 also said that L1 is muy consumista. He's very consumerist. He's a compulsive shopper, very true. And that she has to control him when they go to the supermarket because he always buys too much. Mrs. L1 explained that L1 grew up in a very poor family. That is why he now buys so much of everything. She also criticized L1 for spoiling their children, his older daughter by previous marriage and their younger daughter, by giving them whatever they asked for. Miss L1 has a poor relationship with the older daughter. She added that L1's relationship with his two grown sons is good but somewhat distant. F86 personally observed L1's compulsive shopping when they all went to Chuy on 8th of January. Both L1 and his wife bought a large number of items to send their family in Cuba. At one point, L1 told his wife that he would do the buying and she should be the housewife. Based. Mrs. L1 called him a dumb Spaniard. Gallego bruto. That's cack. F86 suspects that L1 and wife have other problems, possibly due to L1's infidelity. What the? During their spats, Mrs. L1 was usually the aggressor, with L1 trying to keep peace or simply remaining quiet. Mrs. L1 also got into arguments with some of the Palestinian merchants in Chuy. She sounds like a real troublemaker. It's like we're watching a drama. We're watching like a rom-com here. We're not actually finding anything about JFK. We're just watching this rom-com and listening to the FBI literally take notes on this guy fighting with his wife. So keck. All right. Another aspect which L1's family, which F86 found disagreeable. Wait, no, what is this? Yeah, I know, we read that already. One other aspect of L1's family which F86 found disagreeable was behavior of L1's older daughter. F86 and his wife were both offended by the daughter's frequent sexual references in front of F86's younger children. F86 said that L1's daughter acted just like a Cuban hooker. That's crazy. On a more elevated plane, F86 also had some private philosophical and political discussions with L1. In response to F86's direct question, L1 said that the writers who influenced him the most are Marx, Hegel, and Kant. L1 said that Lenin's main achievement was to recognize need for only one party. L1 considers Lenin to have been an interpreter of Marx, but not a great theoretician. To some extent, L1 defended Lenin's so-called law of economic prudence, a means of economic planning which Lenin unsuccessfully attempted to implement in the USSR. After Lenin's death, it became excessively bureaucratized and atrophied, although the system did work with some success in Bulgaria. L1 also acknowledged need for neoliberal medicine to reform Cuban economy because there's no other solution. L1 added, however, that reforms should be instituted with minimum social and political costs, while state should not be excessively interventionist in the economy. L1 wants state to retain its protective social role because market economy also has its faults. L1 talked about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Now we're finally getting to the point. FBI is making you a TV series and you're blackpilling. Literally true. Hey, I don't want to watch Netflix anymore. Why is my name Punch Women? Hey, sorry about that. Can you check my funk? I just want an honest reactions. What's your funk? What is it? Anyway. Talked about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. According to L1 in 1969, L1 personally saw Fidel Castro receive a group of U.S. radicals. Castro talked to them for 2 hours about why just one assassin. Hey, thank you, Zapparoni Works.
Just followed on
Thank you for the follow, friend. You'll love to see it. Big appreciate it. We're almost at 5,000 followers. If we get 2 more followers, we're at 1,000 or 5,000 followers on Cozy. Let's go. Let's go, dude. That would be exciting. Thank you, by the way, very much, Twack for the follow. Transcend for the follow. Sweet little racist. Appreciate the follow as well. I think those are all our follows over there on Kick. Thank you guys so much for following on Kick. I really appreciate it. All right, let's keep going. Said Castro talked to them for 2 hours about why just one assassin could not possibly have killed Kennedy. Castro ordered a reenactment of the crime using his best marksman, and they could not duplicate what Lee Harvey Oswald supposedly did by himself. L1 said that 3 groups were involved in killing the president. 1 group of Cubans, 1 group of mafiosos, and a 3rd group of mercenaries. Okay, the 3rd group included a man with a Greek name. L1 told Oh, this is our guy! It's him! It's Serkey! It's our boy Serkey. That's him. He was the one. I knew it. He's the one with the Greek name. He's a mercenary. It's him. We put it together. We figured it out. JFK Files. Who killed JFK? I'm going to tell Grok. Hey, Grok. I'm going to say, I know who killed JFK. Oh, really? That's a bold claim. I'm all ears. It's been a mystery for decades. You know who it was? It was... His name was like this, right? Don't leave me hanging. Who's your prime suspect? Oh, I've got 1 query left. Oh, no. Serkey? That's what his name is, right? Can I get a fact check on this? We might... I don't want to go back to all the old files. Hold on. We might need to go back to some of these old files just to check his name. Is this the right one? No, that's not it. It was one prior. It's this guy, isn't it? Nope. One prior. What is this? No. Where's our boy Serkey? Can somebody help me? This is it. There it is. Serkey. Serkey. Serge YJ. Cesor no. Let's see what he says. Whoa, we got a super chat. Hey, Cogburn, what's going on? Good to see you here, friend. Thank you for supporting the stream once again.
Cogburn sent $10 GTF buy.
Big super chat. No, you're out of here. Hey, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Yo, yippee! That's Keck. That is Keck. We know who it is. It's Serkey Sarnono. We already know. He's the Greek guy. He was Ukrainian? Crap. I thought he was Greek. What's your angle on this? Digging for more or just tossing around JFK theories? Well, it's actually because he did it. It's actually because we pieced this all together. It's like Fidel Castro said. What is GTF? Is that get the freak? Get the freak by? I don't know. They purposely give these guys... Yeah, I don't think the CIA redacted information. I think they just changed all of the names to make them incomprehensible. I think this was this is what actually happened. But this about Castro saying that is actually super interesting. Had any connection with... What is Pin Infinite? Is that another CIA thing? This has got to be a CIA thing. Pin infinite. I think I spelled it right? Or is it a last name? It might just be a last name. They have these crazy, bizarre last names. In this regard, F-86 reported to a station that L1 is always careful not to attack Pin infinite when F-86 is present. Well, this is very, very fascinating. Does it tell us who these people are? Nope. FG Fork. FG Fork. Who is FG Fork? FG Fork 86. Are we going to get anything out of this? Nope, nothing. Alrighty, well, that was actually interesting. This was actually an interesting one. Let's keep going. Hey, thank you, Seagoil.
Just followed on Cozy.
Thank you for the follow, friend. You love to see it. You love to see the follows. Love to see all our friends in the chat. Appreciate it big time, guys. What a lovely bunch we've got here. What a lovely, happy bunch. We're just big chilling. We're just big vibing. What is this here? Square preliminary checks and recorded conversations reveal no trace 1952 dark blue Buick belonging Soviet or block installation or Sydney. No license plate identical to one mentioned, but full NSW variants checked. Herman Strapinski. No identifiable info on Aussie. Fraser's mentioned. Don't really know what this is. This is a car. Polish driver connected with Russian diplomatic establishment in Australia. Not really sure. Do not reproduce. Return to CIA. Return to CIA. Sorry, guys. I got to give it back. We can't keep reading. Well, this is a 19-page file. 201 system provides a method for identifying person of specific interest to operations. Directorate for controlling and filing all pertinent information about that person. System also provides a means for identifying subjects of 201 files for various categories. Relatively small personalities index are sufficient interest. These are normally subjects of extensive reporting and CI investigation. Prospective agents and sources, members of group organizations continuing target interest. 201 number, a unique number assigned to each individual in the system to serve as identifying file number. 201 dossier, the official file containing a 201 opening form. Master 201 record, machine record. Okay, so what is this? Information about subject, sequence number, name, sex, date of birth, citizenship, text. Is this where the social security numbers are? OI codes. A 2-letter symbol used in conjunction with 201 personality records. Okay. This is interesting. So this is kind of explaining what this 201 file is, but just want to know the contents. So this is what we saw before. This 201 dossier. This is what we saw before with the other guy. Do you guys remember this? We saw a file like this before already. These are a ton. Wow. I don't know if we have good quality on that. Not really. Very interesting, man. Very interesting. Okay. Hey, all Israeli diplomats are labeled as CNE Israel. Interesting. All diplomats in NFLSV. Very interesting stuff. All right, so is this just a redo or? Okay, well, that was a little explanation. That was context. That was a lot of context there. Yo, what's up, Sonny? Good to see you, friend. Good to see you there in the chat. Good to see everybody here. John Oodman is still alive? I had no idea. That's crazy, dude. Reference E, JM Wave forwarded a review of the nature of its relationship with Amcarbon 2. This review indicates relationship Amcarbon 2 evolved from that action, which was taken September 1962 to ensure that a security breach would not occur as a result of an investigation being carried out by the Identity 1 relative to the fact that the establishment of Identity 2 was being kept from the Yobelt South Campus as a result of security restrictions. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know if there's anything sussy over here yet. So is this like a 201 dossier? Yeah, there it is. There it is. This is a 201 dossier. So we've got our subject here. And this guy's JM Wave. All of JM Wave's business with Identity 3 was handled via blah, blah, blah. Frame of reference for JM Wave's relationship. No idea. Hey, QBark is mentioned again. Let's see. Let's read through this. When Amcarbon 2 introduced Amcarbon 1 to Reutemann, Amcarbon 2 reviewed the ground rules under which he had been cooperating with Reutemann. This review was conducted by Amcarbon 1's or for Amcarbon 1's benefit in order that he might clearly understand the frame of reference which should prevail in his relationship with Reutemann. In this review, Amcarbon 2 pointed out that it was the policy there was the policy of Identity 3 that it would take no action which would purposely embarrass QBark or its South Florida operations, QBark being the FBI. As a result, if any embarrassing items relative to FBI's operations in South Florida did come to the attention of the Identity 3, this material would be brought to Reutemann's immediate attention. Amcarbon 2 made it clear that to Amcarbon 1 that such items should be discussed with Reutemann in a frank manner. In addition, Amcarbon 2 made the point that after an item was discussed, Amcarbon 1 should follow Reutemann's guidance relative to how any particularly embarrassing item might be handled by the Identity 3 so that it would not expose FBI operations and at the same time would not jeopardize the journalistic reputation of the Identity 3. In addition, Amcarbon 2 pointed out that if Amcarbon 1 brought a potentially embarrassing item to Reutemann's attention, the remedial action on the matter was not to be taken by Reutemann within a reasonable period of time. Then the Identity 3 would feel free to expose the ineptness on FBI's part. Amcarbon 2 pointed out that in return for this cooperation from Identity 3, Reutemann had agreed that he would be available for contact by telephone and periodic personal meetings at which Amcarbon 1 and Amcarbon 2 could discuss broad trends and developments in Latin American affairs. Amcarbon 2 advised Amcarbon 1 that this arrangement did not mean that Amcarbon 1 could expect to obtain any classified information from Reutemann. The point was also made that Amcarbon 1 should not press for the obtaining of classified information, that he should be alert to steering tips which Reutemann might furnish him on fast-breaking news stories. Amcarbon 1 indicated that he understood the frame of reference which had been outlined by Amcarbon 2. This frame of reference has prevailed throughout JM Wave's relationship with Amcarbon 1 during the period December 1962 to March 1964. Very interesting. Amcarbon 1's journalistic career. Amcarbon 1 originally started to work for the Identity 3 in 1957 on the city desk, subsequently advanced from this assignment to an assignment which entailed covering major political developments in Florida. At a later date, Amcarbon 1 became a feature writer for the Identity 3. Then in July or August 1962, Amcarbon 1 was made the Identity 4. The assignment was considered to be a significant promotion for Amcarbon 1, and it reflected confidence in him by Identity 3 management. Amcarbon 1 is by no means an expert on Latin America, but he is developing his knowledge on the area, and at the moment he gives every indication of wanting to be a long-term Latin American specialist. KDLF has been questioned about Amcarbon 1, and he has indicated that Amcarbon 1 is regarded in the journalistic trade as an extremely likable fellow who has a keen mind, but who lacks experience and depth in Latin American affairs. It is QDelf's opinion that given an appropriate lapse in time, Amcarbon 1 will develop into one of the leading Latin American specialists of U.S. journalistic circles. Amcarbon 1 has a working command of Spanish, like me. I'm Amcarbon 1. Am I Amcarbon 1? Yo, what's up, Jimbo? What's up, Jimbo Stream? We're reading over the files. Did you guys go over these files? They're like kind of boring. They're like kind of boring, honestly. Why doesn't it just say like Israel did it or like the government? Anyway, we'll keep going. He has a working command of Spanish, and he is constantly attempting to improve his language fluency. It is Reutemann's opinion that AM Carbon 1 has developed rapidly as a Latin American specialist, and he will continue to grow in this field. Thus, he is a contact whom should be developed and harnessed for exploitation, bearing in mind that he does have long-term potential. AM Carbon 1's contacts and sources. Hey, Based Brigham Young! Let's go! And we hit 5,000 followers on Cozy. You love to see it. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you're following on Rumble and on Kick if you guys are over there on those websites. Thank you guys so much, seriously, for 5,000. We got 5,000 again. We got 5,000 again on Cozy. AM Carbon 1 has identified some of his sources to Reutemann. Wait a minute. What was I saying? Yeah. AM Carbon 1 attempts to guard the true identity of all his sources. On the other hand, when pressed, AM Carbon 1 has identified some of his sources to Reutemann in order that meaningful evaluations could be made of the information which AM Carbon 1 had passed to QBARC, which is the FBI. As a result of these occasional writing identifications of his sources, and as a result of general conversations with AM Carbon 1, Reutemann has learned that AM Carbon 1's sources include the following persons: Luis Fernandez Rocha, Manolo Rivero, Carlos Todd y Lobo of the Havana Times, Amberi Uno, Aureliano Sanchez Arango, Edmund Ley of the Washington News Bureau. AM Carbon 1 regards this source as being particularly interesting in review of the fact that Ley's neighbor is a secretary in the office of the Attorney General Robert Kennedy. Huh. Interesting there. Freelance pilot and adventurer Frank Fiorini, Eduardo Suarez Riva, Luis Munoz Marin, Juan Bosch Gavino, Charles Keeley of the Copley Wire Service, George Volsky Chrysler. Operational support. AM Carbon 1. Volsky is the de facto stringer for Tad Sulk of the New York Times. This does not deter AM Carbon 1 from attempting to exploit Volsky as a source of information. Operational support. AM Carbon 1 is used to carry out certain operational support tasks. In such instances, AM Carbon 1 makes his inquiries or carries out the required action with the context of his normal journalistic activities. Use of AM Carbon 1 for operational support tasks enables JM Wave to harness the investigative facilities of Identity 3. Several examples of how AM Carbon 1 has been used in operational support tasks are outlined below. Andrew Ordono Camps. In 1963, Andrew Ordono Camps, born in Cuba, arrived in Miami and was given routine CAC processing. The details of the processing were contained in MIAM 0085. After being released by the CAC, Ordono was interviewed by Identity 3 and a sensational story was developed. In view of this story, JM Wave tried to locate Ordono for debriefing. This effort was not productive. Thus, AM Carbon 1 was asked to locate Ordono. AM Carbon 1 did locate Ordono in Houston, Texas. Discrediting Carlos Bandin of the MRR Splinter Group. Dated 13th, blah, blah. Might be able to discredit Carlos Bandin Cruz, the MRR Splinter Group, as a result of Bandin's overinflated claims of relative to his faction invading Cuba. Headquarters' interest in discrediting Bandin was also stimulated by the fact that Bandin's irresponsible publicity stunts were causing problems for Amberi Uno. As a result of headquarters' interest in this matter, Reutemann had a luncheon session with AM Carbon 1 on the 24th of September 1963, which it was a few months prior to the assassination, at which AM Carbon 1 was advised that Bandin faction of the MRR was less than accurate in its claims relative to its activities in Cuba. In view of this, Reutemann suggested that Identity 3 might want us to soft pedal any future war communiques with the Bandin faction, which the Bandin faction might release. AM Carbon 1 stated that, in view of Reutemann's comments, the Identity 3 would not only soft pedal, but would ignore the Bandin faction in the future. Once Bandin was discredited with AM Carbon 1, the word was soon leaked by AM Carbon 1 to other newspapers that Bandin was not a reliable source. As a result of this section, the Bandin group has received minimal media coverage in South Florida since 1963. This is super interesting. Interesting here. So what we have is a journalist. We've got one journalist. So this is my understanding. You've got a journalist who is AM Carbon 1, who, whatchamacallit, AM Carbon 1, am I right on that, or is it AM Carbon 2? I'm getting all confused because the names Yeah, AM Carbon 1 is the journalist. AM Carbon 2 is some kind of intermediary between a journalist and the FBI. What is this called? Something 3? What was it? What do they call this thing? Faction 3? Where was that? Identity 3. Identity 3 is, I think, the government. No, not the government. Sorry. It's like some kind of newspaper. And Reutemann is an FBI guy. Reutemann. Carlos Reutemann. Doubt it. Let's look up Reutemann FBI. Yeah, I don't know, man. But Reutemann is totally an FBI guy and is using the journalist and a journalistic capacity to achieve some means. And this entire part of the files is basically showing that. The interesting thing is that he was kind of working with these Cuba factions. He was underreporting some stuff. Basically, he's an FBI asset. And they're showing it right now. Operational intelligence in the period February 1963 and February 1964. AM Carbon 1 has furnished JM Wave with operational intelligence as outlined below. In Wave 4836, dated 21st February 1963, AM Carbon 1 reported that BND-1 was back in Miami and was the subject of a great deal of press interest in view of the AMBND-1's release from a Havana prison. AM Carbon 1 also indicated that AMBND-1 would probably be a knowledgeable source on the current activities of the UR in Cuba. This operational intelligence was most helpful in terms of keeping the JM Wave informed on AMBND-1's movements. Subsequent developments revealed that AM Carbon 1 could not contact AMBND-1, and thus AMBND-1's return to the United States did not cause the publicity stir that was initially anticipated. In Wave 6176, dated 22nd of March 1963, AM Carbon 1 reported that Identity 3, which is the newspaper, was attempting to research a full-feature article on the Bay of Pigs invasion. The intent of this article was to furnish a recapitulation of the entire tactical situation. In this connection, AM Carbon 1 pointed out that he was thinking about exposing the role of Miami attorney Alex E. Carlson, residing 145 Curtis Parkway, Miami Springs, Florida, in the Bay of Pigs operation. AM Carbon 1 stated that if Carlson were of any interest to Reutemann, then the Identity 3 would soft-pedal the Carlson angle. Reutemann advised AM Carbon 1 that he had no interest in Carlson, but knew of him and was of the opinion that Carlson was a sound and honest attorney. The receipt of this operational intelligence enabled JM Wave to brief Carlson on the Identity 3's overall interest in the role that Carlson had played in the Bay of Pigs invasion. This briefing in turn enabled Carlson to more adequately prepare himself for a meeting with AM Carbon 1. While AM Carbon 1 did attempt to pursue the Bay of Pigs story, he never did put anything into print as the story was overtaken by other developments before AM Carbon 1 could finish his research. This is super interesting, dude. You've literally got the FBI. You've got this guy who is writing an article, letting the FBI know so the FBI can say, hey, this guy is important, this guy's not important. Once that happens, the FBI advises this guy Carlson. That's crazy, dude. This is like so interesting to see the way that they work. Let's keep going. Blah, blah, associated other story regarding possibility of strategic missiles hidden in Cuban caves. Information enabled JM Wave to keep headquarters informed on sensational type articles which have appeared relative to Soviet missiles in Cuba. This operational intelligence was useful in terms of keeping the FBI advised as to what MBD-1's representatives were telling the outside world about their operational activities. Wave, this is right before the assassination. Hold on. The assassination, JFK's assassination, let me double check this. JFK assassination was which day? November 22nd. Okay. I always forget. November 22nd. So we're looking here at, what were we just looking at? Yeah, we're looking, this one is a week. It's a week prior. So a week prior to the assassination, says he had received a letter from Peru which contained an interesting operational lead to one Carlos Montalbano in Puno, Peru. This lead was examined by JM Wave headquarters at the Lima station. Examination revealed the letter was written to be by a crackpot. Thus, there was no real operational potential in this lead. This incident did underscore the fact that AM Carbon 1 is willing to bring potentially significant operational leads to JM Wave's attention. Okay. In Wave 1614, AM Carbon advised JM Wave that he received numerous telephone calls indicating the Armando Andres Guerrilla Forte, who had defected from a Cuban fishing vessel, might be an individual who had previously been seen in Miami during November or December of 1963. At the same time, AM Carbon 1 pointed out that he was suspicious and thought that these telephone calls indicated that Guerrilla was not a bona fide defector, but was either a GOC agent or a FBI plant who was being used as means of creating an incident which would embarrass the GOC. As a result, their fishing boats penetrating the United States territorial waters. Reutemann advised AM Carbon 1 that FBI had played no role in mounting a provocation operation against the GOC. At the same time, Reutemann pointed out that it was highly unlikely that Guerrilla was a GOC agent. As a result of this conversation, arrangements were made for JM Wave to check out certain aspects of the Guerrilla story. At the same time, AM Carbon 1 was prevailed upon not to write a story which might lead to public speculate whether Guerrilla was an agent or a plant in a propaganda designed to embarrass the GOC. Propaganda outlet. AM Carbon 1 has been used successfully during the period covered by this report as a propaganda outlet through which items of interest to FBI could be surfaced in the free world press. Examples of how AM Carbon 1 has been harnessed in this field are outlined below. AM Crab 1. AM Crab 1 defection story originally surfaced in Miami area. I think we kind of get the idea of this, right? Positive intelligence. Period covered by this report, AM Carbon 1 has been found to be a straightforward individual who is honest, cooperative, and who understands the need for security. Our relationship also indicates that AM Carbon 1 is an accurate reporter of that information which he passes to QBARC, which is the FBI. In view of this, JM Waves plans to continue to harness AM Carbon 1 in the same manner that he has been used in the past. It is believed that our relationship with AM Carbon 1 enhances our ability to conduct operational mission in a secure manner. In addition, this relationship tends to minimize the possibility JM Wave might have difficulties with the media outlets in the South Florida area. As a result of continuing relationship with AM Carbon 1, a special activities report will be forwarded to appropriate intervals. Alrighty. There we go. Boom. There it was the whole time. Identity 3 is the Miami Herald. Well, I was right. It was a newspaper. Okay, real. Does it say what the other things are? No. AM Carbon 1, 201. Okay. Well, there you go, guys. I think the thing we were just reading before that, if I'm not mistaken, gives us a way of breaking this down. The names, right? If it's a 201 dossier, it gives us a way of breaking down the names. If I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw this. Alphabetical by surname. No. It's a cryptonym. Huh. Because it's like this one. Yeah, AM Carbon. No, I don't know. Maybe I'm tweaking, chat. Chat, am I tweaking? Tell me, chat, please. Okay, real, guys. Tucker Carlson named. Yeah, Tucker Carlson named. So true. Yo, what's going on, John Pork? Good to see you in the chat there, friend. Alrighty, guys. I think I might be calling it soon. We've gone over a little bit. I'm not really getting anything. I might just need to do a deep dive away from stream. Might just need to do a deep dive on my own time and then come back with like information that I find, because I think reading through all these things would be such a headache. I'm not seeing any fascinating things here. What is this? This looks interesting. Tape recorded conversation between Mr. William D. Pauley and unidentified Cuban. 17th, 18th October. When was this? 1959. Mr. Pauley on 19th October, which is recording Mr. Pauley, blah, blah, blah. The unidentified Cuban who had somewhat of an accent spoke indistinctly and was difficult to understand. He mentioned a meeting with some of our people who came up from Cuba to discuss plans. He said his group had been contacted by Representative General Jose Clotorio Pedraza, leader of Cuban revolutionary groups in the Dominican Republic, who wanted to know what action their group had taken, and was sold that they had a plan to start sabotage. The Cuban said that Pedraza representative said their group, the Pedraza group, had 4 provinces organized in Cuba, mentioning Camagüey and Santa Clara, and that they had 2 provinces yet to be organized, Havana and Matanzas. The Cuban said that his group needed 2 things, moral backing and money. He pointed out that Cubans in Cuba are often afraid to start an underground movement, and there was no way to raise funds, etc. Mr. Polly gave him no encouragement on the money angle, saying that even if there were Americans willing to run the risk of becoming involved in Cuban revolutionary activities by furnishing money for such a movement, which he doubted, he felt that at the present time it would be like putting money down a rat hole. For the following reasons. There is no unity among anti-Castro groups. There are at least 10 that he knows of that are working absolutely independently of one another, and 2, Castro is in control of the country and has Mr. Polly and has the support of a large number of Cubans, especially the underprivileged. Mr. Polly said that he felt the Cuban economic situation was worsening fast, and that if it gets bad enough, a large number of Cubans will turn on Castro, but until that time comes, it would become dangerous to try and organize a revolutionary movement. Mr. Polly asked the Cuban if his group felt that he had moral support of the U.S., and the Cuban replied that they wanted U.S. moral support, but whether they had it or not, they felt they were obliged to carry through with their plans. Mr. Polly said he didn't know what to tell him, would have to think about it and see if anything could be done. He said, having been connected with the U.S. government, I can't get involved in revolutionary movements. Also said he would hate to see the Dominican government get involved, which would be difficult to avoid with so many Cuban exiles there, but commented he understood the Dominican government hasn't given them a dime. Wow, I can't believe it. Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK. Literally what's going to end up happening. Like, what? You're telling me that Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK? No freaking way. I can't believe it. All right, guys, I do think, I'm sorry, I do think we have to call it there. This is just, it's just a drag. There's just so much stuff. I don't know how to filter through any of it. You know, this is the problem. The problem is that there's no good way to, there's no good way to filter. There's no good way to filter stuff, content. There's no good way to understand what is useful information. Our big problem is not so much false information. It is excess information. Our problem is that we just have way too much information. We have no idea how to deal with it. And that's how I'm feeling right now. I've got no clue how to sift through this stuff. But I am going to keep doing it because I love you guys, because I need to do it. Because we got to get to the bottom of this. We got to find out that the zombies killed JFK. But thank you guys very much for being in the stream. Thank you. John Pork is calling. Talibro Keanu, Transcend, Millennial Incel. Who else do we have here? We've got Godzilla and Chill, Zoomer Brain, North American Groiper. He's North American Groiper says, "Don't leave me again. I'm scared you will disappear again. I would never disappear again." Yamby, Jub, Demi Fiend, King Tucker Carlson, Woody Warrior, Corvette Groiper. So epic. Jub, love you guys very much. Thank you guys for being here. Big shout out to Cogburn Groiper. Big shout out to our boy Cogburn Groiper for supplying the stream with its munners. And what did you just send? It's just nothing. That's just nothing. That's cake. No way, guys. Check this out. Yeah, it's literally nothing. Top right Zoomer, thank you for coming to the stream. Natty Camp Hero, big shout out to you for also supporting the stream. And yeah, guys, I'm glad to be with you. It's always a pleasure.